Welcome to Short Takes on Strategy. Today, we're diving straight into some really essential ideas, the ones that power successful organizations, especially now when things feel so competitive.
Absolutely. It feels like the landscape is just constantly shifting under our feet.
It really does. So we want to look at how the best organizations actually manage to, get ahead and stay ahead.
And for this deep dive, we're pulling out the core insights from Chapter 2 of Ketchen and Short's textbook, Mastering Strategic Management.
Think of it like a shortcut, a guided tour through some fundamental building blocks for strategic thinking.
We'll be covering quite a bit, actually, starting with why things like vision and mission matter so much, and goals, too.
Yeah, and then how organizations figure out if they're actually doing well. It's surprisingly not always just about the profit line.
True. We'll also touch on the whole phenomenon of celebrity CEOs, the good, the bad, and the, well, complicated.
And wrap up with entrepreneurial orientation, what it means for a company or even an individual to really have that innovative spirit.
Our aim is really to unpack these key concepts in a clear way, cut through some of the jargon. Oh, hang on just one sec. Rogue. No, get down.
Uh-oh.
Trouble.
Ugh, sorry about that. My dog, Rogue, just decided the kitchen floor absolutely needed a large pot of soup spilled all over it. Huge mess. Okay, deep breath. Mostly averted disaster.
Oh, dear. Well, glad it's mostly contained. Part of the joys of working from home, right?
Tell me about it. Okay, where were we? Entrepreneurial spirit.
Right. And we know you listening might be coming at this from different places. Maybe you lead a team, maybe you're building your own thing, or maybe you're just curious.
Exactly. So we'll try to make it engaging and hopefully useful no matter your background.
Okay, let's jump in. Vision, mission, goals. They sound similar. People use them interchangeably sometimes, but they're distinct, right?
They really are, though they're definitely connected. Vision is the big picture, what the organization ultimately hopes to become. It's that future aspiration.
Like painting a picture of the destination. Precisely. Jack Welch at GE had a great quote about this. He said, "Good leaders create a vision, articulate the vision, passionately own the vision, and relentlessly drive it to completion." Really underscores its importance.
Makes sense. Like LinkedIn's vision, create economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. It's huge, aspirational.
Or Avon's, to be the company that best understands and satisfies the product, service, and self-fulfillment needs of women globally. Again, clear aim, very aspirational.
And here's something interesting. A study found 98% of executives think a strong vision is like the most critical trait for strategic leaders.
98%. But get this, the same study found 90% of those same executives doubted their own ability to actually create one.
Wow, that's a huge gap. Why do you think that is? Is it just really hard to do well?
I think so. Maybe it's hitting that sweet spot between inspiring and, achievable, or getting everyone on board.
Could be. Which brings us to the mission. If vision is the what we want to be, mission is more the why we exist right now, isn't it?
Exactly. The fundamental reason for being. Starbucks' mission to inspire and nurture the human spirit, one person, one cup, and one neighborhood at a time. It captures their identity, answers, who are we?
That feels very human-centric. Not just about coffee, but connection.
Right. It anchors the organization in the present, explains its purpose to everyone involved, employees, customers. Google's mission to organize the world's information that directly led to their search engine.
Now, the book uses that Lincoln analogy, a house divided cannot stand. What happens if the vision and mission aren't aligned? Like that university example mission focused on local teaching, vision shifts to research prestige.
Yeah, that creates real tension, confusion, lack of focus. Professors get pulled in two directions. Ultimately, you might fail at both the original mission and the new vision. It just erodes that shared sense of purpose.
Okay, so vision and mission set the stage. But to make things happen, you need goals, specific targets.
And that's where SMART goals come into play. Specific, measurable, aggressive, realistic, and time-bound. It's a really useful framework.
Let's break that down. Specific, clear, not vague. Kennedy's moon landing goal in '61, landing a man on the moon and returning him safely before this decade is out. Can't get much more specific.
Exactly. Directed all the effort. Measurable, you need to track progress. Kennedy's was basically a yes-no. Coca-Cola aiming for 20% water efficiency by 2012, quantifiable. They hit it early, then set new measurable targets for 2020 and now 2030 for watersheds. You see how that worked?
Yeah, you know where you stand. Then aggressive, it needs to be challenging. Push the boundaries.
Like Kennedy said, not because it is easy, but because it is hard. Easy goals don't motivate, but, and this is key, it also has to be realistic.
Right. An impossible goal just leads to discouragement. If Kennedy had said Mars landing in a year back then, nobody would have bought it.
Precisely. And finally, time-bound. Clear deadlines. Coke's 2030 goal, Nestlé's 2025 for responsible coffee, Kennedy's end of the decade. That deadline focuses resources.
It's interesting what happens after a big goal is hit, though. The book mentions the U.S. space program post-moon landing. Von Braun thought Mars by '82 was doable with the same push.
But it didn't happen. The focus shifted, maybe complacency set in. Obama's 2010 goal for a new deep space vehicle by 2025 also seems off track. Some scientists felt NASA's vision became too broad.
Suggests you always need that next big, clear challenge on the horizon to keep the momentum.
Seems critical.
Okay, so we have vision, mission, SMART goals. Now, how do companies actually know if they're hitting those marks? Assessing organizational performance.
Yeah, this is more complex than it sounds. Performance is basically how well the organization is doing at reaching its vision, mission, and goals. But measuring that involves a couple of key things.
Performance measures and performance reference, right?
Exactly. Measures are the metrics, profits, stock price, sales, customer satisfaction, things like that.
But the numbers alone don't tell the whole story. That's where reference the benchmarks come in.
Right. Like a 20% profit margin sounds good, maybe. But if last year it was 35% and your competitors average 40%, suddenly 20% looks worrying.
It's all about context.
Yeah.
And the danger of just looking at one measure. The book uses that great parable of the blind man and the elephant.
Oh, yeah. Classic. Each touches a different part, trunk, leg, tusk, and gets a totally different idea of the whole animal. If you only measure sales, you might miss that you're not actually making any profit, like some dot-coms back in the day.
Or like the Fortune 500 based on sales, but doesn't always mean best stock performance. And apparently there are like hundreds of different metrics just in restaurant reports. How do managers even handle that?
Well, that's where frameworks like the balanced scorecard come in handy, developed by Kaplan and Norton.
Right, trying to get a more, well, balanced view beyond just the financials.
Exactly. It organizes measures across 4 areas: financial, customer, internal business processes, and learning and growth. The idea is to balance short-term financials with the long-term drivers of success.
So financial is the shareholder view: return on assets, profit, stock price. Starbucks reports revenue, operating income.
Standard stuff, but often lagging indicators reflecting the past more than the future.
Then customer perspective. How do customers see us? Think new customers, repeat business, satisfaction. Starbucks loyalty programs fit here.
Crucial for the long term. Then internal business process. What must we excel at? Efficiency, speed, quality, like that Starbucks Mr. Potato Head exercise to streamline drink making.
Huh? I love that. Hands-on process improvement.
It works. And finally, learning and growth. Can we keep improving? Employee skills, innovation, learning culture. Starbucks' tuition reimbursement is a good example.
Makes sense. It forces a broader look. There's also the triple bottom line, right? People, planet, profit.
Yes, that's gained a lot of traction, especially recently. Thinking about social responsibility, people, and environmental sustainability, planet alongside the traditional profit focus.
We see companies setting goals for water use, waste reduction, ethical sourcing, like Starbucks again. And that Business Roundtable statement from CEOs acknowledging wider stakeholder responsibility.
Definitely a shift. But the book adds a crucial caution. Sometimes sustainability efforts have unintended negative consequences.
Like the environmental cost of mining minerals for electric car batteries.
Exactly, or the pollution concerns raised about Tesla's suppliers. It shows these things are complex. You need to look at the whole life cycle, not just the end product.
A really important point. Okay, let's switch gears completely. The CEO as celebrity.
Yes. Some CEOs become household names, almost like movie stars. Henry Ford back in the day, Bill Gates, Oprah, maybe Sam Altman now in AI.
And there are upsides for the company, right? Free press, maybe a stock bump, better image, even employee morale.
Definitely potential benefits. But the flip side is intense scrutiny. Performance gaps get magnified. Unethical behavior becomes a huge scandal.
And for the CEO personally, perks like higher pay, prestige, but also huge risks to their reputation if things go south, and constant media hounding.
It's a double-edged sword. The chapter categorizes them, which is useful. You've got icons famous and respected, Mary Kay Ash, Richard Branson, Gates, Warren Buffett, known for positive contributions, philanthropy.
Then the scoundrels. famous but for the wrong reasons. Leona Helmsley, Kenneth Lay at Enron, Dennis Kozlowski at Tyco with those crazy expenses, the $6,000 shower curtain.
Yikes. Then hidden gems, great reputation, but low public fame, like Anne Mulcahy turning Xerox around quietly.
And finally, silent killers. Overlooked but caused damage. Harding Lawrence at Braniff, whose expansion led to bankruptcy without much notice beforehand.
It also notes that reputations can shift. Even icons like Gates face criticism later. And Jack Welch's personal life became news.
The John Mackey example at Whole Foods is interesting too. Success made him a celebrity. Then those anonymous online posts bashing a competitor blew up.
Yeah, he admitted he didn't realize how different the rules are once you're famous. That quote about increased scrutiny really hits home.
But contrast that with David Neeleman at JetBlue after that big service meltdown. His public apology and customer bill of rights seemed effective.
It shows how you handle the crisis matters hugely. Transparency and accountability can rebuild trust.
Okay, last major topic. Entrepreneurial orientation, or EO. This isn't just for startups, is it?
Not at all. It's about that entrepreneurial mindset and approach, whether you're Howard Schultz starting Starbucks or someone inside a big company pushing a new idea. It's a way of acting.
The book defines it as the processes, practices, decision-making styles. Basically, how organizations act entrepreneurially.
And it breaks down into 5 dimensions. First, autonomy. Giving individuals or teams the freedom to run with ideas. Think Sony's PlayStation Group or Google's 20% time that spawned Gmail.
Second, competitive aggressiveness. Directly challenging rivals. Ben & Jerry's going after Haagen-Dazs. But the book warns not to overdo it. Price wars can hurt everyone.
Good point. Third, innovativeness. Pursuing creativity, experimentation, both small tweaks and big breakthroughs. 3M sending people to customer sites, Google's personal projects fostering that culture. Autonomy often fuels this.
Fourth, proactiveness. Anticipating the future, acting ahead of the curve, not just reacting, like that firm providing communications in dangerous places like Iraq.
They see an opportunity where others see only risk, which leads to the 5th dimension, risk-taking, engaging in bold actions, not just cautious ones.
Like Starbucks launching VIA instant coffee that was a gamble for their brand, or Oscar Blues canning craft beer when cans were seen as lowbrow. Big risk, big payoff.
And interestingly, research suggests entrepreneurs aren't usually reckless gamblers. They often plan meticulously to reduce uncertainty in their bold moves, though sometimes risks don't pay off, like that Shell energy deal in Russia after the Ukraine invasion.
That research note about CEO birth order in South Korea was wild too. Later-born supposedly taking more risks due to sibling rivalries, spending more on R&D and acquisitions.
It's a fascinating correlation, though obviously just one factor. It does suggest being aware of potential biases. Firstborns avoiding risk, laterborns maybe taking too much.
So overall, the book says EO is a really strong predictor of company performance, more so than many other factors.
That's the finding, yes, which makes cultivating it pretty important.
But does every organization need a high level of EO across all dimensions? Couldn't some thrive by being excellent, steady executors rather than constant innovators or aggressive competitors?
That's a fair question. I mean, you could argue that in certain stable industries, maybe consistency and efficiency are paramount. Perhaps extreme proactiveness or risk-taking isn't always optimal for every single company.
Right. Maybe a relentless focus on all 5 dimensions could even be disruptive or costly if the market doesn't demand constant change. Maybe some just need to be really good at 1 or 2.
Perhaps it's more nuanced. The combination or degree might vary. But I'd still argue that in today's world, some level of adaptability, some proactive thinking, some willingness to innovate, even incrementally, is probably necessary for long-term survival for almost everyone. Stagnation feels like a death sentence now.
Okay. So maybe not full throttle on all 5 cylinders for everyone, but ignoring EO altogether is probably dangerous. How do companies build it then?
It's about intentionally designing systems, compensation, debt levels, culture to encourage those 5 dimensions, rewarding smart risks, giving people autonomy.
And you can measure it, sort of. Employee surveys, turnover, new products, patents.
Exactly. Get a sense of whether that spirit is alive in the organization. And individuals can think about their own approach, too. Even things like Kickstarter empower individual entrepreneurial action.
It really drives home that this mindset isn't just for founders. It's relevant everywhere.
Absolutely. It's dynamic and increasingly critical.
So wrapping up this short takes on strategy, we've touched on vision and mission-setting direction, performance assessment, keeping score, the complex world of celebrity CEOs, and this vital entrepreneurial orientation. Lots of interconnected pieces.
Definitely a lot to think about. which leads us to a final thought for you, our listener. Considering all these elements, vision, measurement, leadership, that entrepreneurial drive, if you had to pick one single factor, which do you think holds the most sway in determining an organization's long-term success in the world we live in today, and why?
Something to chew on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into short takes on strategy. We hope we gave you some valuable insights.